Cool. So what I thought might be the best way for us to go about learning how to host a Twitter questions that I've put up for you on a Google Doc, and I've put that Google Doc out via #EdChatNZ hashtag on Twitter as well. So you should be able to see that on your screen now. Can you see that on your Google Hangout screen, the Google Doc?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So I'll just talk you through the questions, and I've made this viewable so anybody can see it. And the first question, what's your topic, theme, or major question for your chat? So some of the chats popping up, people have already started with similar to EdChat, where you vote on the question or the topic for the night. There are other Twitter chats, like I know the Aussie one, their group of facilitators, there's 7 of them, I think, and they negotiate the topics beforehand. So whatever your topic is, you have to make sure that it's broad enough. If it's too specific, you get less interest. So it needs to be broad enough that educators from different kinds of areas might be interested, but also that it doesn't feel risky, because if a topic feels too hard, you also will get people that are more reluctant to join, I found. The second question there, what do you hope people will learn by participating in this chat? I personally found really important to have this very clear in my head. Essentially this is professional development, and if it gets waffly, you lose the value of it. I always have a very clear objective about what I would like people to have gotten out of the session by the end of it, whether it's a deeper understanding of a subject, whether it's understanding different perspectives around something, whether it's tools or techniques or strategies or something like that. But that always needs to be really clear, because it leads on to the questions that go afterwards. I always think very, very carefully about potential risks or downfalls and how they can be avoided. So, for example, a topic that we had recently is about leading change from the bottom up. And often, if you talk about things like that, sometimes they can blame, sometimes, oh, but my senior management won't allow this, or my head of department won't allow this, or this wouldn't work in my community. But it's not about that. It's about actually there's always something that you can do. But in order for people to recognize that, there are certain things that you need to be able to do. So how you sequence your questions will have a massive impact on where people's thoughts or where people's tweets go. So with any topic that you choose, it's really worthwhile thinking about the risks, even before you even put it out as a question for people to vote on, and how you phrase that question, whether it helps them feel like actually I might have something to say about this, or this is a place where I can ask my questions about this. But at the same time, that for you as a facilitator, the overall positive message that we all love so much around Twitter, that you facilitate that to come out as well. And that really positive learning experience of actually my opinion counts here, but I'm not blaming, I'm building up the community. So I always really do spend a bit of time thinking about what risks or downfalls and how can I steer the question so those things don't become issues. I always go in with a list of open-ended questions. I hardly ever use them all. But at the same time, when you have enough questions, the conversation often goes in a very different direction than you anticipated. So having a range of questions means you've always got the next question ready, and that's an appropriate question, because I found often in the chats where the questions are predetermined, that the conversation will go in one direction and it has to loop back round to the question that was predetermined. So I found it really useful having a list of questions and then being able to pick the most appropriate one. More often than not, though, by following all the conversations that are happening during the chat, that's where I'll get a next question from, because if somebody has already started a conversation, has asked a question, and they're getting a lot of responses, it's likely that there will be other people who are interested in that as well. So often I'll kind of poach a question from a side conversation and make that a main question for more people to get involved with. It's also really important, So that second to last question here, what question would best facilitate participants considering the issue in greater depth? So often with a Twitter chat, nice one, eh? Often with a Twitter chat, because it's 140 characters, it's really easy to just stay on really surface level stuff. So just share that link or share that video, and although there's great stuff being shared, how you ask your question can make the difference between the depth that the conversation gets. So what we're aiming to do here is, if you facilitate your questions right and you ask really good open-ended questions, so starting with a why question. So if we're talking about game-based learning, why are we even talking about game-based learning? What are the benefits? Why is this a benefit? Why do we care about this? So if we're talking, we'll use game-based learning. If I'm saying it develops key competencies and it might develop relating to others, how does it develop it? Why does it develop it? So making sure that the questions are facilitating more depth and that the one question builds on the next one that builds on the next one. I also find it really useful starting with a why question so that everybody is on board from the beginning about why this topic actually matters. And it also means you get into the depth and the nitty-gritty of things a lot faster, and then gradually you can build it back up again. So I've put the last question, so what questions might help participants apply their new learning immediately in their classroom? Could be their community, could be anywhere. So that's all about, so you've had this fairly in-depth discussion, but now you have to walk away, and tomorrow's another day in the classroom. What do you do? What can your participants actually take away and implement straight away? So that's a really good place for those links to be shared, for the teaching strategies to be shared, but it also gives a chance for people to share a little bit more around their practice and not just around their thinking. So in terms of the technology checklist, so I'm just changing to TweetTech now. Can you guys see that?
Not yet. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All right, so Rebecca is hanging out with us as well. So what you can see there is I've got a my home screen, my notifications, but I've also got three channels set up for EdChat NZ on TweetDeck. So what this allows me to do is when the conversation really starts flowing, I've got my notifications, but the first column I usually just leave. It's almost like a speedometer, so I can see how fast the conversation is ticking over. If the conversation is really fast, I'll leave the question. When it starts slowing down, that's when I add the next question. So I'll usually have the next question already typed up in the side window, and as soon as that conversation starts slowing down just a little bit, then I'll throw in the next question. That means that the pace of the Twitter chat is maintained fairly evenly. The next one I'll use to kind of click on somebody and say, actually, wait, there's a little bit more. I'm going to get some more information. I might respond. I might ask another question of them. So sometimes, although I don't really participate anymore because it's gotten quite large and fast, I make sure that where somebody is asking a really good question that I'll then click on the tweet to kind of pause it, and I also use a third column for that. So if something comes up that as I read through that I think might lead to the next really good question, that I then pause it and say, actually, those are kind of prompts for me whilst that third column is still ticking over as a speedometer.
Danielle?
Yes.
Do they move at the same speed, like when you've got the same three columns? Like, you see what I mean? Does it?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not moving up now because it's not much is going on. But does it move fairly?
Yeah. So if once you've clicked on a tweet, so like I've clicked on Steve's tweet right now.
Yeah.
It won't move.
Yeah. But when they are all moving and you have
second I go back, so if they just go to the main one, they'll all tick over evenly.
Right, cool. Are you about to say how you can have at the same time, or can you do that?
So how I have them all on there?
No. Can I have Ang Chat NZ and Ros McEachran at the same time.
So,
The two accounts.
your two Twitter accounts?
Yeah.
All right. The easiest way I found to do that is actually if you're using Google Chrome.
Yeah.
Are you, sorry, are you using
Oh. No, I'm just in
I'm
bed.
just getting a bit of feedback.
Oh.
There we go, it's better. So what I do in Chrome is you can have multiple users. So can you see at the top right hand side of my screen there's a little daisy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so that is a Chrome feature. It means that I can switch between accounts. So you can if you click on the little long things there, you go to settings and you can create multiple user profiles. So I have multiple ones set up. So if I go to my EdChat NZ1 and I click on Twitter there, I'd have to log in, but it logs into the EdChat NZ account rather than my personal account.
Right.
So it means that you can switch between profiles really quickly. So when I host the Twitter chats where I get the EdChat NZ1 to retweet, and I manage it from there, I just flip between the screens. And that's a Chrome feature that you can set up on any Chrome browser.
You are so clever.
I've just learned from a lot of people on Twitter. Are there any other questions from you guys?
What I found last time with SciChat was I actually had all the questions already set up in a Word document.
Yeah.
With the hashtag on them and everything, and all I had to do is type in like Q2 and then paste, and I found that a really good
idea, Matt.
Yeah.
So I was doing what you said. I had 3 columns set up. One which was like a speedo, and waiting for that to slow down. One where I would click on some ideas that I either wanted to contribute to or thought, yeah, that's gonna, if that gets built on, it'll give me my next question. And then another one just sort of to watch what was being said. But it was great because then we had 12, 14 questions and I only used 7 of them. But yeah, having them in a Word document made it so easy because you've already checked it for typing, for typos, and yeah, made it easy.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Alex
a
had a
really
really
good idea.
Sorry. Alex had a really good thing around asking for feedback on last week's chat.
Yeah.
And quite a few of the English teachers had said about it being the questions coming too fast and having fewer questions and more slowly released. So how do you judge that? Just the speed of the answers.
So that's what I said before, how I have the multiple channels. So the one column I just leave, I never click on it, and I use it as my speedometer.
Yeah, but I guess if we haven't done it, because I've never done it before, how do I know?
So you'll see that
how fast is fast?
Constantly moving.
Yeah.
The second it starts taking 1 or 2 seconds ticking over, you'll notice within the first, like you'll ask your first question, and just between the first question and introduction, you'll notice the difference already.
Cool.
So it's a pretty obvious difference. As soon as you notice that pace changing, you'll know. It's fairly noticeable.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Any other questions? Cool. So the big thing, I think the biggest thing that I've learned from all of this is the quality of your questions makes a huge difference, and the order that you ask the questions in. So making the one question, it's just like being a teacher in the classroom. You've got to build the one question upon the next question upon the next question. And that's it. And we're all teachers, so we're all good to go.
Danielle, I wanted to do the social science thing.
Yeah.
and I'm not really quite too sure when to start it. So because there doesn't appear to be very many New Zealand teachers on Twitter in social sciences, that's what my perception is.
Yeah.
What would be some strategies before I go out and do this? Because I think when I spoke to Steve yesterday, we talked that there weren't that many. So how might I do this? I've got an idea for a geography to tackle the geography community, but any bright ideas, guys?
I spoke to Steve about it as well, and I also spoke because of the maths one that I don't know of many maths teachers.
Yeah.
And what I suggested that maybe we'll all start with is just when we're posting something related to social sciences or related to maths or whatever, that we just tag it so people become more familiar with the hashtag. Because as soon as the hashtag is out there, you start collecting those people.
Right.
So I thought that might be a strategy that we could start with. And that's certainly how I started with EdChat NZ.
Okay.
That's a good call, and because that's how SciChat came about. Because SciChat NZ was just a hashtag being used at SciCon. Then it was being used after SciCon, and then the demand from those using the hashtag was, can we have a chat? So ours grew from the hashtag being used to, hey, let's have a fortnightly or a monthly chat. So maybe use the hashtag first, then see if there's enough buy-in to necessitate a chat session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other
The other thing to do, though, is to have a really interesting topic. And I know when Carla was starting with Neil the PT chat, it was advertising. So we advertised it at the Educamps up at Auckland, at Taitokoro. You target people. And you guys are forgetting primary teachers. You know, one of the things I'm getting a bit flabbergasted about is that now we have Sci Chat, Maths Chat, and English Chat all at the same time. If you're a primary teacher, you've got to make a choice. You know, we've got all those subjects. So please don't put it at the same time. And just advertise. Target people, ask them to retweet it, and even have the @ social science ed chat, whatever you're going to call it.
I've already created them.
Yeah, and ask people to follow that one, because then you'll get an idea of how many people want to actually be on that chat.
So Danielle, with regard to that question, the sort of the @ social science, how do I access that myself?
So all the accounts, because I thought, hang on a second, if we, like, I want to make sure that we have these ready to go for us when
we need them.
The time's right, like when the time is ready. So I've already created the accounts. I've got email addresses associated with them, and I can do that for anyone. So all you need to do is just email me, and I mean we can always have our own little hangout session where we can talk through some more of these things. What Anna Marie was saying as well is to keep in mind that yes, some of the secondary teachers, you know, they consider themselves social sciences, but also primary do teach social science. We do, you know, there's so much crossover. So a really good place to start is just to keep in mind that all the primary teachers, they might want to talk about some of the social sciences things, and that they're already there.
Okay.
So getting that's a really key thing, is those big topics and those themes. If you pick them so that the primary and secondary can talk about them together, you're likely to get a lot more buy straight away.
And I think this is another important point that Anne-Marie made about the primary school teachers wanting to be involved, because I know for SciChat we're so keen on it. Get your topic released on the Wednesday so people can choose which one they're going to focus on. I mean, I know I'm science, but actually I'm going to be interested in maths at times. I'm going to be interested in social sciences at times, and not go to the SciChat. I'm going to look at the topic week by week.
There's also the decision to make. So whether it's, if it has to be a fortnightly thing, it could be a monthly thing, it could be alternate ones. You know, there's that kind of call to make as well. And I mean, there's always other nights, but you know, people are in the habit of Thursday nights as PD night.
Yeah.
National staff meeting.
I love it.
That's good.
All-nighter.
And I agree with you, Danielle, as well. I think that
Yeah.
that's the discussion to be made. If there is going to be a social sciences one as well, you've
Yeah.
now got 4, and I think that you probably are looking at Ed Chat, then 2 of them. Ed Chat, then the other 2. Something like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
Because otherwise it is overwhelming and people are going to want to be involved in different ones. It also
Yeah.
keeps it manageable for the work-life balance and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing is too, I like supporting them. You know, I like being
Yeah.
on it just to help push people. And at the moment tonight at 8:30, we've got 3.
Absolutely.
Maths is trying to kick itself off. Start going. So yeah, that makes it a little hard to try and support everybody at the same time.
Mm. Okay.
Absolutely. So there's I think for our group there's a lot more that we can think about. But I think to begin with, I guess the reality is as long as you guys know that I'm absolutely here to help us grow this thing, because I think the thing about these more subject specific ones is I think it's going to target other people as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. And I mean, I just loved that first science chat, how many actual science lecturers were involved.
Yeah, I was chatting to one until about 11:30 at night because it was going so well.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a risk. I often struggle with getting to bed at a decent time on Thursday nights.
Funny.
All right. So, on that note, shall we call it a night and give you guys some time to have some tea before Twitter hour kicks off?
All done. Russ?
Sounds perfect.
You mean
Thank
I
you
mean
very
keep
much.
it to an hour? Oh gosh.
All right. Now, thank you very much for that, guys. And if you get another,
Thanks, Danielle.
Thank you very much.
not a problem. Bye bye.
Thank